Today we're going to begin working on our next reading skill, which is text structures in fiction or literary text. If you remember, we've already covered text structures with nonfiction texts. So those were the text structures like chronological, problem and solution, compare and contrast, cause and effect. Now we're going to be looking at text structures that are used in fiction or literary texts. As a reminder, our text structures are how the author organizes the text, how the author organizes the information. Let's take a look at our objective at the bottom. I can compare how different text structures impact meaning of a text. In other words, how does the text structure impact our understanding of a text? Why did the author choose to structure the information in a certain way? Today we're going to be working with the structure of poems. Poems are structured with stanzas and lines. A stanza is a group of lines in a poem. If we look at our poem here, Today is Your Luck, I see two groups of lines that are separated with a space. Stanza 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and stanza 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. This poem then has two stanzas with a total of 8 lines. Each stanza in a poem builds on the previous stanza or the previous lines. Let's take a look at this poem and see how stanza 2 was built off of the information introduced in stanza 1. Today on your birthday, consider your luck. You could have been born as a pig, cow, or duck. You could have been born crying oink, quack, or moo. You're lucky you didn't wind up in the zoo. In the first stanza, the author introduces the idea that we could have been born as a pig, cow, or duck, and that we are lucky to not have been born as those animals. In the second stanza, the author takes each of those animals and tells us if we were born as those animals, we would have been crying oink, quack, or moo. The author takes the information from stanza 1, the animals we could have been born as, and develops the idea in stanza 2 by telling us we would have been crying out those noises, oink, quack, or moo. Each stanza in a poem builds off the information that was introduced in the previous stanza. Today you're going to be working with the poem April Fool's Day. You will identify the structure, how many stanzas, how many lines are in this poem. Make sure to count each of the lines. These numbers on the side are the guides for you. They're just numbered every 5 lines. You need to count the total lines in the poem. Then you're going to look at the text feature of the bolded letters down the side. Why is the first letter of each line bolded? Why did the author include that text feature to grab your attention? You will then complete a summary of each stanza by answering the comprehension questions on the next slide. You will then work with the text structure of the poem. You'll be identifying the purpose of the poem, what we learn about the poet from the poem. You will read the stanza and identify the purpose of this stanza. What is its purpose within the poem as a whole? You'll be identifying how the author sets up stanzas 3 and 4, what line he used in stanza 2 to set the stage for stanza 3 and 4. And finally, how does the fourth stanza connect back to what happened in the third stanza? Because remember, each of those stanzas are connected. That question will help you answer your written response. The events in stanzas 3 and 4 are connected. Explain how the events in stanza 4 build on the events described in stanza 3. So you'll be explaining here how those two stanzas are connected, how those events are connected with each other. Let us know if you have any questions, and we hope that y'all have a great day today.